of relative roads. Woo! Matt Skidgel, right on schedule.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm well. How about yourself?
You look well. You look really
Thanks.
happy.
Yeah. I mean, what is happy though, right?
You look content.
Yeah. I mean, you never want to be. It feels like if you get too busy, caught up in how happy or how content you are, that something's going to come and knock you off your chair. So,
True.
just kind of striving for balance and try to be happy with what I'm experiencing. Like, as often as possible. Whether it's looking around at the beauty around me, looking around at the beauty that's coming out of me with my music or my art or whatever, or other people's art or music. Just trying to experience the world and stay positive.
So I've seen a lot of the digital art that you've been doing online, and you just mentioned that you're waiting to hear back whether or not a submission is going to be accepted into the Crocker Museum.
Yeah, so there's a thing coming up. The Crocker Art Museum is having artists that could submit their works, and if they accept it, then they're going to auction it off, and then you can pick, how much it costs, how much do you want the Crocker to get, how much do you want yourself to get. So, I submitted one. It's like a 20 by 30. So basically, I drew it on my art set app on my iPad Pro, then sent it to Shutterfly, had them make a nice 20 by 30 print on this cardstock. They do a really good job with their art prints. And then drew a bunch of stuff on that with markers and colored pencil, and it really adds a nice depth and stuff. So it's a one of one. And anyways, I submitted that, and I find out April 3rd is tomorrow. And I find out whether they accepted it or not. And then I have like a month to go drop it off. And then there's a whole process. It's kind of cool. And I've already decided if it doesn't get accepted, it's okay. And if it does, it's just going to be interesting to see how it goes.
You never know unless you try.
Yeah.
And so you submit it. So they're going to put it in a gallery and then auction it off.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
And the goal is, honestly, I set a price of $1,000 on it. And then I actually elected to give all of it to them.
Interesting.
The reason why is kind of not just purely altruistic. It's kind of like if they like it and they say, we'll select this, and then it gets sold for $1,000 or more than $1,000 or whatever, and they pocket that, they might say, well, let's see what else this guy has.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, what I want to do is I want to have an exhibit there of all my stuff.
Yeah.
Or photography and art, or just photography. Or I went to one art gallery, like exhibition. It was in Roseville maybe like a year ago. And I saw some professional artists that are trained and been to school and everything else, and their stuff's really nice. And I just thought, that's kind of cool. They had a 3-piece band, and they had nice little things to eat and stuff, and it was just a really cool vibe, and just to walk around and experience the art. And I thought, and I went to see the art and experience it, but I also kind of wanted to feel like, okay, if I can be objective and step away from my own art, is my stuff okay? And that, is it good enough to be here? And I thought, I think it is, not comparing it to anybody's art, because I don't like comparing art. I don't like saying this art's better than that art. To my eye, I felt like my stuff could display well, and so hopefully that'd be fun to eventually get to have my own exhibit, or be part of an exhibit, or have my stuff exhibited somewhere.
How much have you looked into possibilities in that area? Because I think you're kind of like me. Like, it'd be great to be able to go see these things in action, in a gallery, being observed, so on. So have you looked at other venues that this is possible? Is the Crocker just kind of like where you started and thought, well, I'll start here?
I'm not good at this kind of stuff. So I heard about the Crocker, and I heard the Crocker was really prestigious, and people, the Crocker and the Crocker and the Crocker.
Okay,
so, and then right around sometime of me hearing about the Crocker, then somebody told me about this event, and the person that told me, he submitted something. So he finds out tomorrow too. And I think he submitted a painting of a childhood bicycle. Really cool. So we'll find out tomorrow, and hopefully we'll both be excited to say we're both going to have our stuff selected. Yeah. And we're not consoling each other, or one's not consoling the other. But either way, it's all just part of it. It makes me uncomfortable to put my art out there and say, hey, do you think my art is good enough?
Yeah.
That's scary,
yeah.
because then the other person, it has the option to go,
Yeah.
or this. And then it kind of is tied into your feelings. Like if they say yes, then I'm like, look at me, my stuff was accepted by the Crocker. Or if they say no, then you go, they didn't.
You know,
But it's okay either way.
Yeah.
It's
But
all part of the experience.
I think it's a process, especially if you're first starting out, letting go and then the art of sustaining that position. Because I think it gets tricky when people give you compliments or people give you critiques or you hear about a critique. Like for me, because I'm a fairly sensitive guy,
I am too.
it's a challenge. And so even with like social media, I put stuff out there. Some things get a handful of likes, some things get a lot of likes, some things go crazy. And it's like, what the hell do you people want?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'll have one on Instagram, the same one on Instagram get no likes hardly. And then on Facebook, I'll have like so many likes and people commenting, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, somewhere there's something and I don't know what it
Right,
is.
right.
And I don't know, honestly, if I posted an art piece or you posted a photo, if you wanted to 1.5 thousand.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what that means. It probably means more money, which would be cool. But I don't want to ever stop. I don't want to ever think about the art I do or the photos, which is art, doing it in a different way to make people like it more. Because that's never what it's been about for me.
Yeah.
And that's not true to me. I don't want to guess what it's like throwing a football. I don't want to throw to where the person is. You're throwing to where the person's going to be. And it's not even like I'm trying to sell people stuff. It's like I just want someone to see just exactly what I'm seeing for a second. And if you like it, then cool, give me some money for it.
Yeah.
If you don't, then cool,
Yeah.
that's cool too. Maybe the next guy you like better.
Yeah.
I sold some art too.
You did what?
I sold some art. I had another one that I
How did you get that
I drew
sold?
a portrait. So I did the art festival with you
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We have some catching up to do.
Then we did it together. We split it, and then last year
I flaked on
you
you.
were unable to do it.
You can
and
say
so no, it was just you chose not to. I've actually chose not to this year.
Oh, okay.
For different reasons, and then I did last year. I did half art and half photos. So
Yeah.
I sold a piece last year, like a photo that I drawn, like a kind of a Picasso-esque in the style of Picasso.
Yeah.
Just very odd looking, but
A little
cool.
abstract, but still.
He asked me if I had anything else similar. I sent him a bunch of portraits I'd drawn in a similar style, and he picked one, and I had it framed. And similar to that frame of yours, it was kind of nice, clean matte.
It works perfect. Yeah.
And it displays and pops. It had a really big, bold background.
Yeah.
I'll show you afterwards.
Yeah.
And went and took it to him. He's an older guy. He's in Elk Grove. And but the reason why I'm not doing it this year is because it is a lot of work.
Is it?
Like my back was so bad last year setting up, like, because I mean, you're getting up early. You put everything in the truck,
Yeah.
drive down there.
Right,
Everything
right,
comes out
right.
of the truck.
Yeah.
Display everything.
Yeah, I know. And I
then everything in reverse.
put you in a bit of a bind.
No, but my wife. So Cynthia
worked out,
We
but-
did it. We got it done. It was cool. But the payoff for me, it was more about figuring. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to hawk my stuff. Like I want my stuff selling for a lot, and I want it to be like figure out how I can market it and make
Yeah.
it like a one of one and be like, yeah, this is my thing, and it is $1,000. It is $5,000, and that's a straight face price, and have people go, this stuff is art. It's valuable. It's
How do you gauge what your price is going to be?
that's tough.
Right.
Because I mean, like, then you have to say, well, what is somebody that's got a contemporary level of like a peer? Like, I think it's just a matter of give someone a price, and if they say that's ridiculous, then go, okay. And then if you don't want to come off it, don't come off it, and that's your price.
Mm-hmm.
You set the price.
Right. Yeah, I've only got that one experience where we went out and set up, and that was an emotional journey for sure. But I think it just depends on how much love or attachment you have to the piece. For me,
Yeah.
Is how much of yourself did you pour into that expression, and how much is it going to cost for you to let it go? In a way, I guess at this level, I wouldn't know hitting certain milestones.
Well, your stuff, the photo or an art piece that you did, is it either a decoration or is it art? And then I don't know what delineates what makes one and one not the other. Collectability, like if someone's going to buy something for it being the sake of art, they probably want to think that maybe it'll be worth something someday. I don't know. I don't really know what art is as far as that goes, and I don't know how. Like a photographer, when I did the thing last year, he comes up and says, you need to raise your prices on your photos 400%. He goes, I do something and I make it a 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, and I sell them for $1,000 each. And people love that. And I thought, well, you're like controlling the demand, and you're making the market like you either make your product scarce or you make it more available, and it's confusing to me. I don't understand, and it actually makes me feel really uncomfortable to try to value my art.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Yeah. Huh.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, how does somebody say like you draw something, I draw something, you say mine's worth 50,000, I go mine's $500 or $50.
Yeah.
What makes yours worth that and mine?
Well, I think after a while, it's how much you've been established in the community that you're selling to. If your name and your work has reached a certain number of people and people are inquiring about your work, your value goes up. You know.
Yeah, and you don't probably charge a lot when you have 300. I have 299 followers on Instagram. I'm almost at 300. So
yeah, hey folks, if you don't mind, send your love his way. Yeah. So do you paint with paint and brushes?
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen any of that. I've seen your digital work, which seems to be where you've put a lot of focus, but
I like that I can just grab the iPad and do it.
Yeah,
and I have to go put a drop cloth and get an easel and get the paints out, clean the. Oh, I didn't clean the brushes, and then there's this. And
yeah, I know.
So because I'm not lazy in the sense of most things, but I like convenience.
Yeah.
But I don't draw a lot with actual pen and paper. And also the reason why that is because I find with pen and paper, like my posture is really bad. And with the iPad, I can kind of sit and kind of move the iPad to where I need it to be
move
and stuff.
The canvas around.
Because I'll do it for hours.
Yeah.
And I kind of just check out. And then I'll come back and I'll be like, wow, look at what I did. You know, like.
Does that affect your marriage in any way?
No.
If you get hyper focused?
No, because, like there's other things going on. She's got shows or,
Yeah.
And I'll have a TV show on and I'll be watching it and doing my drawing and I'll still know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe not as detailed.
Sure. It's not a show that requires much more of you.
And there's not really many shows on anymore that are worth your full attention.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think most shows today are just complete shit.
Yeah.
Can we swear on here?
Absolutely. I encourage it. Please do. I may not be in a truck, but I am still a truck driver at heart.
Yeah, Army and law enforcement, there's a lot of swearing for 25 years right there.
The blue collar, it's a privilege, really. And I was thinking, like, I'm in traffic. I'm dealing with the public. I'm navigating some treacherous waters. And for me to be able to express myself to the full degree, not to say that I would just be vulgar all the time, but some of that vulgarity is, it's mental health. It's a question of mental health. Like, am I able to get those things out of my system before I'm confronted with a very delicate situation where I could blow up and all it does is take things off the rails and, I've blown opportunities up. I don't know. I think that there's probably science and studies behind it. But
I'm certain of it. Like as a cop, we developed, what's called gallows humor. You ever heard of that?
No, I'm assuming that has to do with dark humor.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have to go experience something really horrible, like a dead baby in whatever context.
Right.
And somebody cracks a joke away from people, like afterwards and you're somewhere else and it's not a joke about it, but it's like, if you take that in, that's too much. You have to make it something that and it's like, oh my God, that's horrible. How could you say that? And you laugh, but it's like, it's a distraction from how absolutely grief-stricken you could become if you thought about the real, the facts of it.
Yeah.
It's just too much. Like, I mean, cops, people don't realize like the weight that cops carry. And people are like, oh, that cop was rude. He was, I dated a girl one time. Her mom was a rich lady and she got pulled over by some CHP officer and she drove fast. I mean, like, come on. And I wasn't with her, but I mean, I know that I drove with her and I know she was kind of like the speed limits were kind of like guidelines. Driving fast and the CHP officer comes and talks to her and he keeps his shades on and she's talking about it afterwards. And she says, he was so fucking rude to me. I go, well, what did he talk rude? Did he yell at you or something? She's like, no, he kept his sunglasses on. She goes, I hope he fucking gets shot by and killed by a crack dealer.
Ooh.
And I thought,
good Lord.
I thought, man, anyways, that's rude to some people. I don't know. Maybe he's just out there and it's bright. He's been out there all day. But people have unrealistic expectations of cops. And it's really, really hard to go from a call where some kid died in a pool and then you got to go back on 10-8.
Let me ask you.
Pull somebody over and then they're like, well, he was rude to me. Like, you know what? Maybe I hadn't fully decompressed from the last call
Yeah.
or the call last week or the call last month that really shook me that I'm drinking a lot to not think about. And that's kind of why I drink a lot. But
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, I'm going to push this up just a little bit right there. It's good. Do you ever recall a time where even you walk away from a situation and you think back like, I think I went a little bit too far? And then how do you deal with that? Do you,
as a cop?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I never.
Because you guys are human. It happens, you know.
I mean, there was a case where a colleague was responding, a colleague and his trainee, he was a field training officer. They're driving around and all of a sudden another cop calls out on our department. They were checking this parking lot and there was a guy that was in a stolen vehicle. So he goes up to talk to the guy in the stolen vehicle and the guy takes off. Partially runs over the deputy that came up to talk to him. And that goes out on the radio. So my aforementioned friend and our coworker friend and his trainee, oh, here's the car. We got it. We're behind it. So this is the guy that just ran over this deputy. And they don't know how bad the deputy's hurt. He's been run over. Mm-hmm. So they're chasing him and all the way from San Leandro all the way to San Francisco. Long pursuit. Mm-hmm. Speeds, I think, over 100, going the wrong way, jeopardizing so many lives. Finally, he crashed, and the stolen car, he crashed, and the two guys chase him, and he runs. They tackle him and beat him with batons. And he's not getting on the ground and putting his hands out like he's told. He's putting his hands up. He's, putting his hands up like whatever. It's not an easy video to watch. Mm-hmm. And it was recorded by some people or a person up on a balcony. And so the two deputies were fired and arrested and charged. And the perpetrator was given $6 million. He's a federal parolee, Russian gangster, multiple felonies. He had guns and dope in the car, stolen, all these things. That they dropped all the charges on the pursuit. Now he's the victim, makes $6 million. And the two deputies, careers over, arrested, all this stuff. And I don't know what happened as far as the adjudication of their cases. But the whole point of this, to answer your question, is when you're in the middle, I wasn't in that call. I wasn't involved in that call at all. But when you're in the middle of chasing somebody or dealing with someone as a cop and you see the just wanton disregard for other people's lives, they're just getting away from you because they don't want to answer for this warrant or they don't want to do this a little bit of time that they got to do. So they're going to go jeopardize all these other lives, kids, women, men, old people, young people. I mean, like you see that. And if you care about good people, you get mad. Yes. You go, fucking stupid mother. So when you catch somebody, a perfect world, yeah, you're going to go, all right, oh yeah, down, handcuff. Okay, watch your head, get in the car. But it's tough. I mean, I'm not going to say that cops have, all the stuff that cops go through gives them a free range to just do whatever they want, treat people however they want. Absolutely not. But also to try to understand like what a cop goes through. Everything's a case-by-case basis. All cops aren't bastards. All cops aren't bad. And I also wouldn't side with all cops just because they're a cop. I wouldn't say, well, I was a cop and he's a cop, so he must have done right. Everything's a case-by-case basis. And without context, almost any bit of information is useless. You need context. Mm-hmm. I've seen videos that look like cops executed a guy by shooting him in the back, and if you had a different angle, you saw this that you couldn't see from this angle over here.
Right.
And then he puts his arm down, and when he walks, you didn't see the gun that he pointed. So, like, you need context.
That situation in West Sacramento, what was that kid's name? It was years ago. They had
Backyard?
Yeah. I forgot that kid's. That was a big case too.
Yeah, I mean, it's
multi-million-dollar payout to the family, and okay. So
back to your question, do you go too far? I don't feel like I went too far in the sense where I never struck it. Whoops, sorry. I never struck anybody with my baton, like the way it's.
You might have to tighten These are cheap sons of bitches.
I never this thing.
Yeah, as tight as you can. Yeah, there you go.
I never used my baton like where you expand it like this. I actually used it in a fight one time where I just pulled it out and because that was the only thing I had to get this person in handcuffs and try to get him to stop punching me in the face. But I never went too far. I never had any excessive force, you know.
So you personally can't recall a moment where it's like, yeesh, that was close.
No, I mean, I remember times where, like, one time I got this drunk guy in custody that was drunk, and he was kicking a door into a liquor store. Just boom and boom, mule kicking it, destroyed the door. So we show up, and it's no big deal. I get him in handcuffs. And I've won. I got to write some paper, and got this guy fix, you know, the store owner's going to hopefully get reimbursed by his insurance. But I've won. He's in handcuffs. And I said something to the guy, and it instigated him. And it was not necessary for me to say that. It was something like,
there we go.
Like,
that's what I'm talking about.
I hope it was worth it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
The dumb shit you just did. I hope it was worth it.
Yeah.
And now you got to go to jail. And basically there was no need for it.
Right. Okay.
It wasn't abusive. It wasn't anything like that.
I appreciate that.
But then
appreciate you sharing
that spawned his behavior just turning into this whole spiraling shit show.
Yeah.
And then, like, hours and hours and hours later, I'm realizing, like, you know, realize when you've won.
Yeah.
And shut up.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
There wasn't no need to be like, the final thought for this show is, that was stupid what you did. It was like,
he already knows. He's in handcuffs.
And the thing was, he was drunk.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize, when you're dealing with someone that's really high or really drunk, you're not dealing with that person. You're dealing with that substance.
Yes.
And you can't reason with it. You can't use logic.
Yep.
And if they decide they want to act some kind of way, however they want to act, well, guess what? Now you're responsible for them until they go to whatever facility you take them. And then it was just miserable. And I learned a lot. So
yeah. Well, thank you. I that's what I was looking for, man. A bit of vulnerability, a mistake that a cop makes, and how does that play out long term? Is that something that, you know, are you trained to sort of like, forget about it? Or is it like, all right, let's look at that. Let's think about how we can fix that for next time or get ahead of it next time. And I'm curious, like, are there measures that should be put in place for cops simply for those little moments so that like you nip it in the bud? It's not something that's like, okay, well, that happened and then that happened and then that happened, and then boom. You know, I feel like if you nip those things in the bud, you're kind of keeping a head start or some kind of, let's say, cushion before the next big blow, because you guys deal with the worst shit all day. I listen to the scanner in the mornings. I go, you know, if I go to work at midnight, I throw that scanner on.
What agency?
Sacramento, Sac Sheriff.
Okay.
It's like the main one on the scanner that I listen to, the app that I'm using. Yeah. And so a lot of it is mental illness and homelessness, if not all of it, for crying out sake. And, you know, like, I know the paperwork's a big hassle, but to have to show up and deal with somebody who's covered in God knows what, and they're unruly, and it's up to you. And I always feel bad when I hear the first responder saying, yeah, can you show me en route? And it's like, oh, you poor bastard. There's got to be very little glory in doing that job. Well,
back to your earlier part of the question, when you said something, you could be identifying these things for later. I mean, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
There was a captain that come off my department. He retired like 30 or 40 years. And he was proudly saying that in his 30 or 40 years, however long it was, he never used force. He never used any force. Now, use of force is when, if I walk up and say, Mike, I need you to turn around, I'm detaining you in handcuffs, and you go into handcuffs, and I have a reasonable suspicion that are involved with something. I don't have probable cause to arrest you, but I have a reasonable suspicion to detain you until I figure out if you're involved in this criminal activity. If I have a legal justification to put you in handcuffs, to detain you, and you start to resist, it's all predicated on if I've got reasonable suspicion and I can articulate why I'm putting you in handcuffs, and you resist, I am allowed to use force to overcome your resistance to get you into handcuffs, to get you safely detained. The reason why you go into handcuffs is because I haven't searched you and I don't know if you have a weapon nearby. Mm-hmm. There's a million reasons why you put someone in handcuffs. And I always would tell people, you're not under arrest. You're just being detained, unless they were under arrest. So if I use force, it's going to be anything from grabbing your arm, and maybe if you pull away, I grab your arm and I twist your arm a little bit and you go, that hurts. And I put the handcuff, and now, well, I did use force on you.
That's classified as
I have to write a use of force report.
Ah.
And the reason why you have to do that is because if I broke your arm and I didn't write anything about it, you go, the cop twisted my arm, where's it in the report? There's no use. I mean, So it's designed to cover the cop. It's designed to cover the person. And if there's force used on my department, then you'd have to be medically cleared before you went to jail.
This is something that I've never really thought about, but I'm sure it would have shown up in my expansive research if I were to do so. But when people claim their experience with dirty cops, that's one of those things that can be fluffed in a story as to use of force, and it's not documented and it's not proven, or it's somehow shoved under the rug. That's something I've just never really thought about when people say dirty cops. I think drugs and stealing is usually, or some sort of other corruption, but that's interesting. It's so intricate, man.
But you also have to think about this. Remember I just told you about the 2 deputies that chased that guy that was long federal and state level, multiple convicted felon. They chased him and all the stuff just went away and he got $6.1 million. So when people tell you dirty cops, excessive force, this and that, you need to kind of judge that on its merits with the person, because 6.1 million, everybody knows that if you go make allegations, you might make some money. I mean, I'm not saying that it's if people are making allegations, those allegations aren't true, but I mean, there are cops that use force that don't report the accuracy of the force they used. And there are people that make up force used against them, or they make it to be way worse.
Right.
So it goes both ways. I mean, it's a case. So and if you use, in the way, I don't know how departments are, but when I was a cop, it was, if you have X amount of uses of force in a certain amount of time, you go into what's called a, kind of what you said, it's like kind of personal early warning, or it's like a use of force early warning. If you've got 3 uses of force in 6 months, this, or whatever the time frame was and the amount was, then you would be put on this thing. But sometimes, I mean, I worked in a beat that was North Hayward, San Leandro, San Lorenzo. We would go into East Oakland. I mean, it was a very, very
this is more towards middle class when you get into the Hayward, no?
No.
Okay, so this is still lower
stone
class.
Killers, dope addicts, very, very violent. So if you're in this beat and then you have someone that's where the country club is and it's up on the hills, Castro Valley, or down in Livermore or something, they're going to be dealing with a whole different set of calls on a daily basis than me that's going to be working there, East Oakland, OPD, in the heart of Oakland. So my point is, you're going to have more uses of force because you're going to more calls that are just active calls, in progress burglary. You got to chase the guy down. A lot of people run. Well, I got to go run after you. If I've got to run after you and tackle you, I've got to write a use of force. So you're going to have more instances of force being used. So I get back to the guy that said he prided himself on having all these years with no force used, and the people that are out there using the force when they need to, they're going, well, you're not a real cop if you're not out there using force. And then the people that are like him are saying you're using too much force. So to me, it's just like the people that I see and hear that chastise and they talk nothing but crap about cops. I say, you know what, before you think you know what you think about cops, go down to the biggest police station near you and say you want to go on a ride along on a Friday night or Saturday night in the summertime, where in the beat with the most violent crime, for 12 hours, stay the whole shift. 10 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours. Stay the whole shift. Yeah. See everything the whole night. Try to go 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Yeah. And then after that, you see the kind of crap that cops have to deal with.
Yeah.
You'll have a better idea and a better understanding, of sometimes why. And honestly, sometimes cops show up and they're defense minded. So they're really quick to take a proactive approach if they think that their safety is jeopardized, because you're at a disadvantage as a cop.
Which is what they're trained to do.
Well, I mean, so it takes the average mind and central nervous system 3/4 of a second to realize there's a threat.
Yeah.
And then another 0.75 seconds to react to it. And this is if you're really highly trained.
Sure.
And paying attention.
Right.
That's 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
In 1.5 seconds, I could stand up. I could be standing there and just standing there, just kind of calm. In 1.5, I could withdraw and put 3 to 5 rounds in a kill circle in that amount of time. Fast. And so my point is, we're at a disadvantage as cops. And I shouldn't say I'm not a cop anymore, but when I was, you're playing a catch-up game because you don't know what this guy's going to do. Yeah. So when you see something, when someone's reaching for something, I wouldn't wait to see if it's a knife or a gun. I would just usually grab them and snatch them up, given on the depending on what's going on. But sometimes a very benign situation can be like, I mean, there was a female cop killed in Davis where she was dealing with a car accident. Somebody rode up on a bike, I think, and just killed her.
I got a clap. Have the clap.
Did you hit the record back on those guys?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. All them there cameras is running. And, all right. Going back to is her name Tara O'Sullivan?
I'm not sure. Davis?
Well, I'm not going to do any justice trying to figure out her name. But yes, this female police officer was shot. I think it was broad daylight. I thought it was
like just a traffic accident, like an unrelated, like two people fender bender.
Right, she was
shows
at a
up
scene.
and she's because we didn't do traffic accidents, so I didn't have to do sketches of the scene or whatever. So she was dealing with a collision, unrelated.
Right,
and I'm not super educated on exactly the particulars, but somebody came up that was unrelated to the accident, and she either
shot her in the face.
Dismissed them and like kind of turned back around because I'm doing my job and I don't know what happened, but the person just killed her.
Yeah. I was going to try and look the case up.
And you said it was just adjudicated?
Yeah, so they got the death sentence.
Huh. So he'll live out his years on death row?
Well, yeah, essentially. Such a silly, systematic side effect, isn't it? Sullivan.
I don't know what the right answer is. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, no.
Not a perfect system.
Yeah.
But
Tara O'Sullivan. I did get it right.
Nice.
I'm diggity dog. I'm gonna read it to
R.I.P.
you, and we'll go from there. The chief said his farewell to slain officer Tara Sullivan on Thursday during a memorial. She was killed. Well, this was published in 2019. This particular article.
Man, see, that's COVID time warp. I thought it was like 2 years ago.
It was right
6
before.
years ago.
Yeah. I just remember how brutal that report sounded. The fact that this dude rolled up and just fucking she's this young police officer. The other thing, just real quick, I think Davis is haunted. I think that fucking city has got a curse. It's a beautiful city and it's little college-esque surroundings, beautiful like neighborhoods, but there's eerie shit always happening there. I remember it was years and years and years ago. My wife and I was watching one of those crime shows, and it was this young man, serial killer type individual. I just don't think he had very many victims, if more than one couple. It was an older couple that was at home asleep. Because he wanted to see what it would be like, he broke into their home and killed them. I forget how he killed them. Probably good thing that I forget, but one of the details that I didn't forget is that he cut open the stomach of the man. And these were like people, I think, in their 70s, 80s, age. And he cut open this dude's stomach, put a telephone in his stomach, just some weird, random, twisted, morbid shit. And then when they interrogated him in the office, the officer that did the interrogation was being interviewed about it. And he said it was one moment where it was this kid just looked him in the eyes and like just so nonchalant was like, I could jump over this counter and kill you right now and it wouldn't bother me. And like, it was just this really cold
psychopath.
Yeah.
Or sociopath.
Yeah. And so maybe it's because of how much TV I watched, but after hearing about that story, many trees have fallen and killed people in fucking Davis. And then that Tara O'Sullivan situation, I don't know, bro. It's kind of eerie, some of the things that come out of Davis.
That reminds me of a couple of cops got killed on the job that, there was one in Hayward that he's out driving. I don't know, it was nighttime, and somebody just in his marked patrol car, somebody just drives up and does like a spin out right in front of him. And then he pulls him over, obviously, like, what do you?
Yeah.
And as he's walking up, the guy pops out the window, just shoots him right in the face and kills him. Cop just dies right there. Another one, San Leandro. He was talking to a group of people, and one of them was, I think, had a warrant or something. And as the cop was turning his head to talk on his radio, the guy had a pistol and just executed him. It's, they say like responding to a routine call, and everybody goes, well, nothing's routine. It's very true. I mean, you can go to one call where it could be like, comes over the radio very, very hectic and it sounds crazy. You get there and it's not all that. It's who knows what happened, but it's not all that. And other times you have something and it's just very seemingly, you know, nothing to it, and it ends up being a fight for your life. So, I mean, it's just never, you never know. It was I can't imagine being a cop these days.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine doing a lot of things these days. You know, like let's say teachers or even students. What's that like? You know, with the internet involved and social media, and I don't know how this takeaway of the Department of Education is going to help. I don't know the benefit of that or the downside.
What were they adding to it?
I don't know.
Does anybody know? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, if there's all this stuff coming from the federal level, then some of the stuff trumps state stuff. Some of it doesn't. But if there's no real need for it, I think everything should be state-based. Everything possible.
Why is that?
Well, because I don't think that, I mean, like when we left England, you know, the values and the norms of England, they don't really apply when you live on the eastern seaboard of the United States of America. It's different. It's a different land, different terrain, different everything. So what I'm saying is when you have one group that's dictating to, you know, we're the boss and they're so far away, like in Washington, D.C., why in the world should Washington, D.C. tell anybody in Sacramento what to do?
Yeah.
So my thing is, if you don't like the state that you live in, when you don't like the education there, then move somewhere else. If you don't want abortion in your state, or you do, then move to the state that matches what you have.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the federal government telling people we're the United States, but also there should be like some rules that are like, these are the rules of the whole country. That's it.
Well, I have to say,
but then each state, there's certain rules that are just within the state. I mean, and you're not going to probably get the same want your kids getting the same education if you're in Nebraska and everything's geared towards we're going to be corn farmers. Or if you're in somewhere other part of the country where it's like, well, we're going to want our kids raised to maybe go in a different direction.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. A fair.
That's
assessment.
just my opinion too.
Yeah. Well, in my own half-ass educated, naive, dumbass trucker way, I agree with that. The idea that states should have the control. But with the way things have been going in this state, it's almost like I kind of hope that somebody steps in and does a little something about this.
I have a feeling if Kamala Harris runs for governor,
oh my Lord,
then you're going to see a big shift.
Yeah.
In the other direction.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I mean, because, let's not to put a fine point on it, but I mean, like, if I was the vice president for 2000 to 2024, and Joe Biden is the president, what better 4-year stretch could you have had as a vice president to showcase your leadership abilities than in this 4 years where you didn't see the president a lot? And if you did see him, he was falling down. He was doing these things that you were just like, what's going on? Talking weird, not really making sense, you know, being covered up. People are like propping him up in the media. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He wasn't fine. So my point is, if Kamala, however you say her name, is it Kamala?
Yeah.
Kamala.
Well,
I heard it both ways, and I don't want to disrespect her, but I mean, her name Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I just thought that if you have the ability to be a leader 4 years as the number 2 to Biden, you could have showcased so much, and you could have just, but she didn't. She did the opposite. I feel like every single time she talked, she could sit there and start on something and go, oh, talk, all the way around. And it sounds kind of something, there's a lot of catchphrases and a lot of jargon, you know, keep your eye on the ball or whatever it is. But then there's like nothing really, there's no substance. And then if you ever want results, where are the results? How are the American people like getting a fair shake based on what you're doing and what your ideals are? I just felt like she didn't really showcase that.
Let me ask you this, because I'm getting a lot of confirmation bias. I'm kind of like in the winner's circle as far as what I thought I knew about the current administration, why it would be good for us, and that it's the right thing to do. Let me ask you this, because I think you're obviously on the right a little bit, but what do you think is not going well for the Trump administration to this point?
So we knew for 4 years under the last time he was the president that the media, I think the first 4 years Trump was treated a little bit more fairly by Fox, but I think that there's no way you could ever say with a straight face that Trump gets a fair shake in the media. The media will report on him and they have pictures of his face all distorted and they make his hair, it already looks kind of weird. They make it I mean, and everything out of Biden's mouth is cleaned up. And, you know, for 8 years, I never heard one single bad thing about Barack Obama. The media as a group, besides Fox and maybe a few conservative right-leaning, whatever, I don't even call it news, any of it. I'm just like, there's no way that one person can be everything they say and do is gold and the other person everything they say and do is shit. So I think what's going wrong for the Trump administration is it's kind of more of the same of 2020 through 2024. You saw that, not whenever he was president was 16 to 20, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's instituted this DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been a federal employee.
Equality.
Efficiency. I worked at the VA hospital. I was in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a federal employee. I worked at a VA hospital.
Government.
I've seen anyways, there's a lot of trimming that could be done. And that's only the stuff that I knew working for a small town VA. It was a big VA for the area, but it was, you know. But
it was very clear that things
there's so much. And so if you have people that, it seems to me this is what's happening. There's a big faucet. And we'll just use USAID as that big faucet. And that is my understanding that the people that know about this and created it, that was a way that there was all this money for stuff to get done to benefit America and America's friends without having to go through all the red tape. Big faucet of money coming out, and the water is the money. Then DOGE is coming in and restricting that, and they're tightening that, and less money, or in some instances, no money's coming out unless they can justify where it's supposed to go. And people that were benefiting from that are flipping their shit. And I'm going, why? To me, if you're ethically, morally, and legally covered, you should talk about anything. Why shouldn't you? This is where I get my funding. This is why I get my funding. This is what I submitted, and this is how much, and this is what I use it for. But there's some of this stuff they're saying for millions and billions of dollars. They're just like, we don't know where it went. All the people that were screaming about Social Security is going to not work, and it's all insolvent. It's because they're being robbed.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't being robbed. I'm not going to say it's not on both sides. It's, you got a D next to your name or an R next to your name. I think there were politicians on both sides benefiting where they shouldn't be, and money was going where it shouldn't go. And I don't think justice will ever be meted out for that. The best thing that I think I can hope for is to hope that it stops and that more regulation. I don't want regulation. I want less government and less regulation. But if you're taking money from people, from my paycheck, and you're saying, if you don't pay this money, we're putting you in jail. So you're taking it by force. If you're taking my money, then don't give that money to things that subvert American values and you make America weaker with the money you took from me.
Yeah.
Use the money you took from me to benefit the country. You know, like, use it the way it's supposed to be used. And it's a lot of people in politics, they get in there and lobbyists and those other things, and they're washing their hands. I mean, like, they're sending money to Ukraine. Yes, fight the Russians. You know, all this money going to Ukraine with no regulation.
Yeah,
billions going over there.
Than that.
Billions going over there.
Yeah.
And before it even gets over there, there's hands washing hands over here, and it's not even leaving the U.S. It's going to contracts. It's going to these consultants. But then you have like Maui, L.A., North Carolina, and they're getting $750 from FEMA, and that's it, or nothing.
Right.
But we're giving all this money. I mean, it's just, I don't know what is happening as far as
the way I can rationalize it. Well, a couple of things. I seen a state worker or federal worker post a video basically saying, like, just send the email back. Just answer. What did you do this week? I do a good job at what I do. I'm proud of how I do it and how hard I work. I don't have a problem sending an answer back. And I think that's just it. Like,
your job's not your entitlement.
And like, if you're getting paid with tax dollars, you should be up to your fucking, you should be up to par with the level of accountability and the level of professionalism. You should be setting the pace, or setting the bar rather, for a professional in the workforce.
Yeah.
Like this, you should be a shiny penny when people come looking for you, because like, you work for the public. You're a servant to the public.
That's your accountability.
Right. And the other thing is too, like, working in the restaurant industry, because I have to tie it into what my experience in the world has been, especially in the workforce and out in the community. Some of the chefs that I would deliver produce to would be extremely picky, very difficult to please, and I'd have anxiety when I'd go and deliver there. It's like, fuck, I know they're not going to take this fucking bag of bananas or whatever. But I had to tell myself, like, if this were where I was eating and my chef was doing everything he could to make sure that I had high quality ingredients in my food, I'd want nothing less than that. I would want my chef to be this Doge personality who's going to be like, this is all
fish that's questionable for
like,
cheap, and then try to make more money. He wants the good stuff.
Why wouldn't we want that kind of representation? And I think that this country, I think the some of the side effects from being a free world, being in the Western free world, is the fattening of the mind, the fattening of the resolution that we should all be willing and ready to be a part of. I think that we're lax. We're just naturally too lax. And I mean, you saw the example of what 9/11 did to everybody. It kind of shook everybody up, and we're like, oh shit, like maybe we shouldn't be that comfortable, because it leaves us extremely vulnerable. And I think no one likes change, especially when there's a new chain of command, there's new managers in the office. People don't want to be uncomfortable. They want to just get away with the kind of shit they're doing, myself included.
Yeah. Well, when you start talking about this money is taken from taxes and then it's put to these places that are ridiculous or fake or they're washing, who has the problem with that?
I do think Afghanistan needs Sesame Street.
Who has the gender equity and fruit salesman in Ecuador or something? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And the transgender study on rats.
Just all this stuff. It's laughable. It's like parody, but it's real. It's sad.
It's unreal. It's crazy.
But seriously, look, so the taxes, the big pool of money that are the government has, they take from everybody and they put in there. Who has a problem with that money being mismanaged and misspent and stolen and fraudulently given? Who has a problem? Do you know who has a problem? The taxpayer. Mm-hmm. So who doesn't have a problem? The people that don't pay taxes. Mm-hmm. So there you go. I mean, that's a big thing right there. Right. If you don't pay taxes, then you don't really have skin in the game. You are not outraged that they're mismanaging all the taxes, because the taxes would have been paying these people to get their 9th PhD and their all these specialized things where they really fit into this government bullshit system. Like some of these jobs, they're like, you see some of these people, what are you majoring in? And they talk about what their major is. And it's like, it seems like it's Saturday Night Live. It seems like a parody. This is what my major is. Like, we don't have manufacturing jobs. We don't have computer chip jobs. We don't do that stuff now. We outsource it. I mean, I've rethought my whole, I used to have, like, say, capitalism all the way. Unchecked capitalism is the way, but I really don't think unchecked capitalism is the way to go. That's why we don't have manufacturing in this country anymore. That's why we outsource everything. Mm. That's why our healthcare system is so shot, because I've heard that if there's $100 in healthcare, 95 of it is spent paying their board members and stuff instead of like getting better. Yeah. So the efficiency and the efficacy of their stuff isn't really that important. It's about making money and profiting from healthcare. Yeah.
And keeping that going. Because once those people get that lifestyle, they're going to do everything in their power to keep it coming.
That's why these career politicians are worth, how in the world, if you make $175,000 a year, I don't care if you've been doing it for 40 years, how are you worth $200 million?
Right.
Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear that, Nancy?
No, I mean like $200 million. And then you're voting on stuff. She's voting on things, and then she's giving IPOs, and then like ask her about it. She goes, oh, I didn't do that. And they go, oh, well, Nancy didn't do it. Well, they said she didn't do it. Okay, next question. And that's it. There's no vetting. Nancy said she didn't do it. She didn't do it. Someone else says it. Let's vet them. Let's arrest them. It's a different set of rules.
How do you go personally about collecting data in terms of politics?
So I don't
What's your process?
I would say if you're saying conservative or liberal, conservative, but I'm not a Republican. I'm nothing. I want common sense politics. Mm-hmm. I want the smallest government possible. I want to have safe living conditions, safe streets. I think if somebody commits a crime, they should do the time. I don't care about where you were raised. I don't care about your home situation. It's never okay to bring violence on another human being. Yeah. It's never okay to steal from another human being. There's so much out there for people to do and use and whatever to earn their own way. I mean, I literally dig ditches when I was younger. As part of my job, I worked at a gas station. I mean, I did these very, very menial things that you could do when you don't have any experience. And I worked really, really hard. And then I went in the Army and I worked really, really hard. everything I did. I worked really, really hard, and I don't really have education. I just work hard and I try to do the right thing. And when you see people that don't work hard and they don't do the right thing, and then they're bitching how hard it is for them, it's like, I can't abide somebody committing violence just because they're from a disadvantaged background and they were from an area with a lot of violence. I grew up around violence. I grew up in a violent, abusive household, but I don't beat my wife. I don't put my hands on my wife because I saw a lot of stuff growing up that I just said, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to ever do that stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what people that haven't overcome anything. I think if you take away, here's your first place trophy and everybody gets the participation trophy and everything you do, oh my God, Mike, that's the best photo I've ever seen. And it might not be that good. It's okay, but everything you do is so effusively praised. And then you go out in the world and someone goes, that ain't good. And you fall apart because you don't know what it's like to be like, try and fail. That's part of life. Get a shitty job, work really hard, don't make a lot of money and go, man, I'm working really hard. What can I do to work a little less hard, make a little more money, get some more experience, do some other things? I mean, like, I don't know what the answer is for each individual person because context is everything. But these people that commit to these lifestyles of like living outside the law, living outside of respecting their fellow human beings, life, safety, property, like, I don't have any time for that.
Well, I can tell you where it starts because
at home.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking, not just in the literal sense, but in the spiritual sense. Like, I am a man of faith. And let's say if we were to speak of it scientifically, there is a higher purpose that I aim to serve. The language and internal lingo that I use to navigate my, let's say, spiritual course, my North Star, in so many words, is the epitome of what would guide me to do the right thing. And why do the right thing? Because it's the only thing that will guarantee any influence on a positive future, no matter what the circumstances are. And mind you, I'm going through shit right now that I have my proverbial finger on the trigger just because I'm emotional, because I'm ultra sensitive, because I wouldn't say victim to the modern era of technology and overload of information. Like, it's not a woe is me scenario, but it's like, man, you're up against a lot to live in a free country and do the right thing. Like, it's not a natural flow of things for somebody to be crossed or to be wronged by another person to just automatically think, well, I'm going to do the right thing. It's not so automatic, especially now because we don't have time.
I think it's more not to interrupt, but not do the right thing, but just don't be violent and don't go over the top. I mean, if you want to tell someone fuck off, that's cool. That's up to you.
Sure,
you don't have to figure out the repercussions on your own. But doing the right thing, I mean, I'm talking about like don't go steal someone's car. Don't go.
But what I'm saying is, when you feel slighted, it's almost easy to manipulate a situation so that you get a little dig. And that subliminal thing that people can do, this manipulative thing, it happens to ourselves first. We lie to ourselves and say, this is justifiable. And I'm saying that because I'm in the mix of it right now and I feel justified in a lot of ways. But what is to say that people aren't watching my every move, not just to see the controversy unfold, but to gauge how they may deal with a scenario similar? It's like your kids or young people who are watching you as a mentor. They're not so much concerned about what you say. It's a lot of, how do you deal with this? How does your actions, and it's not like you have to be perfect and walk a straight line. You can be vulgar and set boundaries and react, but the ultimate message is where do you take this? Where do you steer the ship when you're knocked so much off course and everybody's looking at you? And not only that, everybody's looking at you like, I wouldn't fuck that. I'll do this. I'll do that. We all kind of put ourselves in those shoes and we're
Monday
like,
morning quarterbacking.
Yes, exactly. And
stay the course.
So my point is, that's where the real challenge is. You kind of said, like, I don't know what's gonna do this, that, or the other, because your awareness, because of my awareness and our observations. Like, this is where our intellect has led us. We have some insight as to human behavior. You've got some unique perspective because of what you've done and where you've worked and where you've been. but not, it never changes. And I have another thing I want to segue to from this, but it never changes that doing the right thing's always going to be the priority when you want to be a good person. When that's your directive is, I wish to be a good person. I wish to influence people positively. It's always going to be do the right thing. It doesn't mean you got to be perfect, but the ultimate outcome has to come from that place where you're like, you plant your feet and you're like, I'm not going to break character.
Well, that's the problem. A lot of people nowadays, they go out with that intention, maybe myself too, but then when they feel triggered, then it's almost like,
yes,
well, now the accountability is not 100% with me because they did this thing. It's like, but you chose how to react to it.
yes, 100%.
Like the man's search for meaning, the essential thing is like, you can't control life, but you can control how you respond to life.
Easier said than done.
It's very easier said than done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then how I wanted to segue from that, because I was thinking about this before. All right, here we go. I wanted to talk about the process of faith, not necessarily religion, but faith as you know it. What is faith to you? How does faith enter into the conversation in regards to how you process your spiritual turmoil, how you look at the future that is more of a shaky ground or a bleak set of circumstances? How would you describe your faith to someone else? I'm not trying to sell you church, but
I'm not religious.
I know. This is why I want to talk to you.
I am anti-religion.
Absolutely. I hear you.
So like, but I believe in God, and I believe that I should have died, could have easily died, maybe should have died dozens of times and didn't. And there's a reason for that. If one or two, like you could say, well, this and that, but I mean, like, there's been so many times that have been very near death for me, and I'm still here. So,
amen.
And thank you. And I don't really necessarily look at the world in terms of trying to do right, because I think right is subjective.
Fair enough.
What's the right thing to do? I think we all know what the wrong thing is. So I stay away from those things, and I try to stay.
It's a good way to look at it.
Away from like.
I like that.
Try to stay away from absolutes. I think context is everything, and almost every situation I think has to be a case by case. You can't stereotype people, things, whatever. I mean, you can go in the ghetto and find the best restaurant you've ever found that you would never go find, and you can go in the nicest area and find some of the shittiest people. So I mean, like, try to faith to me. I have faith in myself, and I have faith that if I'm panicking about something, if I'm really scared and really bothered by something, the only thing I have ever found that works is to try and not dwell on it. And that's why photography and art and writing and guitar, things like that, have been a good escape for me. Time almost always makes things better. Always. And it will take the sting out of things. It will take something from being so big that you can't see past that grief or that whatever. A little bit of time, it kind of gets a little bit less, and then you learn you're okay, you're all right, and you just kind of one step in front of the other. So faith to me means there is something out there that wants me to stay in this reality, in this state that I'm in. But then again, I could have a brain bleed and just have an aneurysm and die 2 seconds from now. And I'm 40, almost 48. Like, I feel like I'm playing with house money. I had a really rough I had kind of rough parts of my life, but rich in experiences and rich in spectrum of things. Like, as shitty as things have been, I've had really good stuff too. So it's like, and everything in between. And I'm trying to always learn and not fall in love with I try to avoid ego at all costs, because ego clouds you, and you start thinking you're something you're not. And it's like, I'm trying to just keep that I'm just happy to be here. Like the young rookie, and he does something good, and he's like, I'm just happy to be here. And then in 10 years, he's like, well, we're going to talk about my contract and this and that. And he's not happy to be there anymore. So I'm just like, I'm playing with house money. I've been blessed that even though my body doesn't do the stuff that it used to be able to do before I was medically retired, the things that I can do, music, art, writing, photography, the things that I can do bring me joy, and they bring joy to other people. And I don't really, I'm not saying I'm antisocial, but since COVID and everything, and then I lost my father-in-law, I lost some people close to me, and I've kind of become more just kind of close with the people that I hang out with, smaller number, or sometimes not a lot of people at all. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. I don't need some people need just kind of not meaningless contact with others, but just kind of like that level 5 surface communication. How are you doing? Oh, good to see you. How have you been? You've been good. Like that doesn't, small talk and things like that. It doesn't, it feels like it just sucks my energy away.
Yeah. No,
I don't need that. So my point is about faith. I just have faith in myself that I feel like God gave me a brain. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just go through life like this is a trust fall. God will take care of me and just kind of take care of me, God. I think whatever God is to anybody else, the God that is good God to me, gave me my unique set of abilities and my brain to not fall in love with my ego and always be trying to evolve my process. If I can do something a little bit better tomorrow, why would I want to bang my head in the same way I did today if I can kind of clean that up for tomorrow?
Yeah.
And adopt kind of a better way of doing things?
Yeah.
And ego, just to be avoided at all costs. I feel like believing in yourself is nice, confidence, but when it crosses over into like, you're thinking, I can never look at my art and go, my art's so much better than this person's. I never ever do that, or my photography or anything else, because I have an attachment to mine, and I know I can't be objective about my own stuff. So I just like it for what it is, and I hope others do. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't, they don't. I have faith that I will continue to get joy out of the things. And as my little circle of things I can do kind of closes, I can't really lift weights. I can't run. It really bothers my back and my neck. But I find other things to do.
Yeah.
And it just kind of.
Yeah. I think I can relate. I think that's a good way, because it sounds like to me like faith is closely tied in with gratitude for you. I think you operate from a state of gratitude as much as you can consciously help it. I think that you also give yourself permission to be human and to fly off the handle and have these moments where, you can appreciate that God's not going anywhere. This is what he's made you to be able to do. And in the end, when you kind of zero back in on what it is that's most important to you, your highest values, God is a part of that equation.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's not really about religion as it is about somebody having a North Star. And I think that, the way we worship in our lives is essentially directly correlated with what we put our faith in. And worship is like the dance moves you take to get there, and in the modality of art or whatever modality in artistic measures or creativity you do, I think this is one of those things in mental health that isn't, maybe it is, but it's not the most advocated for avenue of processing. But I think everybody is creative.
Oh yeah.
And it can be very delicate. I knew a gentleman who was opening that door for himself. I don't think he knew of himself as interested in that kind of processing, and it was sort of, the rug was pulled from under him, and the circumstances are what they are, and it wasn't any one person's fault. It was just like, you can't do that here, and then you could see his flame get put out, and that kind of broke my heart. It's like, oh man, it was really kind of cool to see you start expanding your mind and your personality that way. And so it's become really important for me to enlighten those who don't see themselves as creatives.
Well, people will say, I could never do this drawing that you do.
Yeah.
Or you took this photo, it's so good, I could never do that. Or this guitar song, I could never play that and sing. And then I go, you know what? You're right. Right this second, you couldn't. But you know how many photos I've taken before I can kind of spot this and get the right angle and stuff? Or how many times I played that song before and it sounded like shit. And then it sounded okay. And then it sounded pretty good. And now it sounds really good. And then in 5 years, hopefully it sounds amazing. But I'm just saying, like, people don't give themselves like enough grace as far as, and I don't either. I'm really hard on myself. But I've stopped. I've stopped being so hard on myself, because I've heard that, like, if you say, if you call yourself, you stupid idiot, why do you do that? It's like, that's negative. It's beating yourself up. And there's part of your psyche that actually believes that. And you become a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. So instead of, but I'm not going to pump myself up like Ricky Henderson used to say, like, you're like somebody struck out, or somebody was batting after Ricky Henderson, and he's walking after he struck out, and Ricky's walking back, and the guy goes, you're okay, Ricky. You'll get him next time. And Ricky just ignored him. And he's like, you're still the best, Ricky. He's talking to himself. I'm not like that either. But I think that you got to like say, the first time I drew something, I mean, I only got into drawing again like 2 years ago. Like I hadn't drawn since way back in the day before all my drinking and everything.
Why did you get started again?
And I just thought, you know what? One day I woke up and I said, I've got this iPad that I'm using for music mainly and my photography. And I thought, look at these art apps. And so I just kind of started fooling around and I just thought, why not? If I want to draw something, you know, and I got into it and I just allowed myself to draw at whatever level. And then I don't set like I need to be at this level. I need to be at this level. Because how do you do that with art?
It's more for you.
It's just an outlet. I mean, like people say, I sent my cousin one of my drawings and he goes, what's the inspiration behind it? And I said, you know, honestly, none. I've been practicing for this music gig for like a couple weeks and I hadn't really been allowing myself that much time for drawing. So after the gig, my brain was like, dude, let's draw. And I just kind of let it go. And I drew that one, the last one I drew with like the black and white. It was, I called it Amalgam. But he goes, what's the inspiration? I said, the inspiration was just to let my brain wanted to draw and that it needed that outlet and it does something for me. And then, it's kind of self-indulgent, you know, with art. Like I'm not a trained artist. So I don't know how to use space. My instinct is to just fill space up with stuff. Yeah. But sometimes in art, you know, you don't want that. You know, you want it to have context. You want it to be. So everything should always be evolving, I think. You should always be looking at the way you're doing things. And it's like, I don't want to get in a rut and that's why I play so many different kinds of music. I've had people tell me, you should get like 30 songs and just nail those 30, get them down to where and it's smart. But for me, the way my neurodivergent mind works, I've got ADHD. I've actually have symptoms of autism too, believe it or not. I mean, like whatever. But if it starts to turn into boring or starts to turn into work, then my brain looks at it a different way.
Yeah, I know.
But if it's fun and it's engaging and it's making me get that dopamine hit, then it's like I can't do it enough. Right. Like I'll play guitar. If someone's playing if we're playing and we're on the same like kind of skill level and wavelength, I've sat and played for 7 hours straight. Yeah. And it's just enjoyable to me. It's not.
Yeah, you almost forget everything else.
It is.
You're just in their zone.
That's part of the reason why. Maybe escapism. Maybe it's just it's a form of therapy for me.
Yeah, of course. I think that's the basic outline is it is a way to transfer energy and
it calms you down.
Keep yourself safe. Yeah.
You know, I've tried to do this, adopt that where before I make a reaction or what the fuck? Yeah. Just take a few seconds. It's really hard, but it helps.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I know.
And it's very elusive for me to keep that present. It has to be present all the time. If you think about it now and you go out for a walk and you don't think about it again, something's going to happen. You go, what the fuck? Well, you didn't keep it present.
Sure. Well, yeah. Even just writing, like I've dealt with emotional situations and written a rough draft out to whoever I wanted to say what I needed to say to, put as many colorful words in there and just save it in my drafts.
Well, you're writing songs. So I write short stories and I write haikus and I write snippets of song lyrics and things. But you're actually writing songs and then you're putting them down.
I'm attempting to, yeah.
No, your songs are cool. That's amazing.
Thanks,
and that could be like your frustration and the things that you are like.
It's the most productive way for me to have a voice in the situation. I feel like.
Well, that's how a lot of the rap and all that stuff got started is like their frustration at like what was going on and they sing about it. It's like, so, I mean, I think that could be the best possible. I mean, like.
It's felt really healthy. And
it feels legit when it comes out because you're really pissed off. You're really like feeling those emotions. You're not trying to manufacture it in the studio. You're like, I mean, I was talking to someone today. I said, when I start writing, I feel like I'm probably going to write a whole album or that first song and it's going to be an album because I got a lot of shit to say.
Yeah.
You got a lot of shit to say.
I'm looking forward to developing that side of me more. I'm going to take advantage of what time I have now and work on that. And I really feel like in terms of faith, I say in terms of more than I can even count. When it comes to my faith about where my future is heading, the voice that I hear when it comes to my conversation with God and as how I believe it to be is not necessarily do the right thing as far as everybody else is concerned, but do what I know is right for me and the future I see. And creativity is not just a place for me to process my mental health and all the things going on, but it's who I really want to be. It's what I really want to do on a regular basis. And I think that's what got me in trouble in recent matters, which I'm sure will evolve in my communications as time goes on. But, I think that subconsciously that's where I've been wanting to go. That's where I'm going to end up as far as my spirit is concerned. It's like you can hide or you can play house as much as you want, but this is what you are.
Do you have a background in any kind of marketing or anything like that?
No.
So
not
is it
officially.
feasible to think that you could take maybe like a marketing class at a college or something nearby and
Sure.
learn how to market what you got? Because your stuff on your photography, your videography,
That's a great
and
suggestion.
your music
Thank you.
is at a high enough level where it's not like you need to keep crafting that. You're there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure out how to like either polish it to the next tiny little level or get it seen by more people. Because I feel like my stuff is going to be the right person's going to see it, and then it's just going to pop. And I feel like you're the same way with your stuff. And you got like, I'm not kidding you, that song you played is phenomenal, and it's current. And I don't care what side of the aisle you come down on. It feels like there's stuff in there that people can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of like touching on the tip of something that we need to focus more on, shine more of a light on that in this country, is dialogue is kind of discouraged these days. Everything is emotion based. Let's argue and fight about something as opposed to sitting and talking. Or, they used to do the rap battles and stuff. They talk trash, but there's not going to be any violence from it. You talk back and forth using your mind.
Yeah.
And you're like figuring out, okay, first off, to go a little deeper, back up, stop making your opinions based on what you see on the news and social media. If you want to have a really strong opinion, you better be out there getting that opinion by being there and seeing it for yourself as opposed to being a mouthpiece for these. People think if they have these opinions, it's like you're scrawling swastikas and burning Teslas. Are you serious? Like, anyway, stuff like that before you make your opinion on it. And so what I'm saying is like, if you got your marketed your stuff to the right people, the way you're singing and rapping about stuff, I mean, and that's just one little topic. I mean, you could sing about and rap about all sorts of stuff that's going on.
That's what I wish to develop.
Right, and you could be like that Public Enemy or like, like I said, KRS-One, where you're talking about more dialogue. We should be able to have arguments, even heated arguments. And it doesn't have to get physical. It doesn't have to get accusations of racist things going back and forth. We should be able to talk. I mean, and that's part of it is like you're singing about it. I mean, you're talking to a nice little melody. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's important. I think what you're saying is important. And I didn't hear everything you were saying, but I would like to listen to it again. And I mean, like, it's solid. Yeah. Solid. I dig horns and I dig that stuff too. I think that's cool. It's got like a kind of a crossover with some jazziness to it. Which is really nice.
That particular instrumental that I'm using to formulate that song and the lyrics and the tone of it, the rhythm of it, it is the tone and the rhythm that I want for the delivery of that message, because it's kind of like another day at work. Here we go again. It's kind of like that, like not in necessarily a complaint, but just like, yeah, but this is it. This is what life is.
That's what I was going to say. It's a microcosm of life.
Yeah.
You like the routines and this is
the
doldrums, the humdrum of.
But it's a different, it's somebody else's song, an instrumental, but if I were to shop around, that's what I would tell a producer. Like, this is what I want for this song. I'm gonna, I have maybe another handful of verses. I'm not sure how much more I need, but I'm almost to where I'm gonna get my point across.
How many minutes is it right now?
It's at about 2 minutes, so like there's a whole other minute left.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably need about 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's songs that are, especially if it's my first official like full song, I'm okay with 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, you come in with those and you hit them and you leave, you know what I mean? Like your flow is solid, dude. Everything about it is really, really cool. And it's really, I don't know. I think it's really cool.
So my last podcast was with another aspiring rapper, but this guy's been doing it for 25 years. He's really good. Like, when I was following hip hop growing up, his style, his delivery, his cadence, everything, that was what I would aspire to, because he's so intelligent with his lyrics. His flow is just so steady and so smart and jazzy. And it turns out his influence was jazz, quite a bit of it. I love that jazzy, boom bap.
It provides a lot of opportunity for inflection either way. It's not like it's just a
it's storytelling at its
really
finest.
Nice.
As far as hip hop's concerned, I like those types of rappers. I don't know if you're familiar with Mos Def, but
I'm not. I'm too short NWA back
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
late
yeah,
80s,
yeah.
early 90s.
Not so
100 miles of
ooh,
running, straight out
yeah,
of Compton,
yeah.
Short Dogs in the House, Life is Too Short.
I like the nerdy rappers. I like the guys
Tupac's
who,
flow is really cool.
yeah.
I like his.
Well,
Like,
Biggie is another
he's got a
one.
good flow too.
Big Pun. I don't know if you ever heard of Big Pun, Puerto Rican rapper. He's so fucking good. Some of these guys are so good, and the persona they build is good and all, and it's real edgy. But to me, like the way they master their vocabulary, the way that they twist and turn their what we say, the affliction in their voice, and how they kind of carve this cool sound. Like if you can tell a story in that way, and you can go all the way around this bend and come back and reconnect it. You know, it's
I
like
thought
any.
It Was a Good Day by Ice Cube.
Yeah,
Like
another
that whole story, and it's one day of his life, and
yes.
he's doing all these things, and it's
yes.
like, and everybody digs that, and it's got that kind of that old 70s,
that easy groove,
that really
cruising
cool,
song.
and it's a snippet from another song from the 60s or 70s, but it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got some of that going on right there, and it's like, you know, one day. This is what happened to my day.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've never seen myself as a rapper per se, but the art of storytelling in that mode.
Yeah, that's a vehicle for you to get some stuff out that you want to say off your chest, and it's like, as opposed to just reading it off of a thing, you know, you put it to a thing, and it's cool. You want it musically cool, which has got the beat, the melody, and the flow, and then you want the content. You've got the content.
Yeah. I'm proud of it. I wrote the first few verses of that a couple years ago, and then I've just in the back of my mind, like, I really want to work on it. And then as of even before recently, like in the last few months, I've had a stack of papers in my backpack, and I'll bust them out while I'm at work and write all this shit down.
That's how you do it, man. I write on my phone. I use my notes.
Likewise, me too. As of recently,
tons and tons of song lyrics and like poems and things.
Yeah, no, I just recently, I put the whole song.
Nice.
That's the name of it. Yeah, I'm proud of what this is doing for me emotionally. This is giving me the outlet that you had brought up earlier. Like, this is what I need right now.
Scratching that itch, man.
Yeah.
And then you figure out new ways to say things, and that's cool. That's what I'm fighting with right now.
Thanks for the encouragement.
Is I'm trying to get over that hump and write my first song. So like I'm singing put these little melodies together, and then I'll sing to my dog or something, or I'll sing another song and I'll change the lyrics and put his name in. But I think there's something really powerful. Like I watched, there's an older gentleman that comes to a lot of the local musicians gigs. Gary is his name. And he'll come with his wife most of the time, but sometimes just him. And he is so into it. He'll if you have a gig over here and I have a gig in the same day, same time, he'll try to split time here and time here. And then he'll go and take photos and stuff. And then he'll do a Facebook write-up of, I was at this place, I saw Mike Haley, he sang these songs and some photos, and just a really cool thing. But he took me to go see unexpectedly. He's like, hey, did you see A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie? Full recommend. It's on Hulu right now for free. And I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I want to. Bob Dylan's really important musician. He's a great songwriter and obviously an important American musician. We went and saw it, and what a musician! And he's singing about current events. He's singing about what's going on in the times, and he's pissed off about stuff, or he's happy about stuff, or this is how stuff's making him feel. And it's kind of like a timestamp on this little cross section, like a little snapshot of what's going on in the times, and you're singing about that. Because in 5 years, it's not going to be those same things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's that's another part of why I picked it back up and was wanting to finish it, because I'd like to get it done before the end of this year or even sooner, so that it stays relevant and I can encapsulate it in time and say, this was my contribution, one of my contributions. And if it evolves into something I continue to do, great. What my goal is to get on stage and perform a song.
What about open mic? Have you done any open mics?
Not yet. I want to have a whole piece of work before I go out and do some of those things.
So if you had just the background, the backing track plan, you could give that to them, they play, and then you have your phone, or if you memorize it and go up there and just do it. I mean, that could be really cool.
True. Yeah.
And
no, that's
really
fair.
rewarding, because afterwards you're going to be like, I was afraid of this.
Yeah.
And I did it. And and then it could spark something before you know it. You're like, go gigs or something. I mean, who knows?
No, once I feel like I've pretty much completed this particular song, I might take you up on
Nice.
that. I might do that. Yeah, because that would be quite encouraging for me to continue, you know.
Well, people hear it, and I think you're not going to have any problem with feedback because it's quality. It's not subjective whether it's good or not. To me, I think it's
Sure.
really good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll play it again for you before we end up out of here, which I think maybe this is a good spot to stop.
All right.
So thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
1,000,000%, man. It's been great to get back together and get on here. There were other things that I'd like to talk about that are in current situations out there, but we got nothing but time.
Yeah.
So
Next time.
No,
it's always nice talking. I mean, like this format of podcasting, or whether the video's going or just the audio. Like you watch Rogan, you watch those guys. It's kind of the same thing. Like at some point, at first you're just like, oh boy, it's just microphone here, but then it's just a conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
And if the first couple of times I was on your podcast, I was kind of worried about what I said, but it's like if I say what I really believe,
then there's
reasons why I believe that way.
Yep.
That's okay. And I honestly, it sounds shitty, but I just don't give a fuck what people think.
I know, and I love that about you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It sets precedence. So all right.